Patrick Klepek, let's talk about what's going on in the world of television news. And of course, the big news this week, HBO Max lives. Max to change its name back after 2 years. I'm reading here from Variety.com. Turns out Warner Brothers Discovery thinks HBO has some pretty good brand equity after all. This summer, streamer Max will bend the knee and rebrand back to its original name, HBO Max. The change comes just over 2 years after Warner Brothers Discovery decided to drop HBO from the streamer's name to become just Max. Note that while HBO and Max have carried separate commercial branding during that time, they've competed under one HBO/Max label for industry awards. End quote. Patrick Klepek, what did you think of this news?
The thing that struck me about this one in particular was how long they've been preparing for it, because the coordinated marketing on this one was there are social clips with John Cena for Peacemaker. All of the social accounts are being snarky about what kind of idiot would rebrand 3 times? Essentially just flogging themselves over the change as a way if we're ironic about it, isn't this cute and funny?
They did the Eminem in 8 Mile thing. Did you watch 8 Mile?
Yeah,
Eminem
ages ago.
Remember at the end of the movie, spoiler for 8 Mile, but the way that Eminem defeats the enemy in 8 Mile is he does a whole rap about how he's terrible. He himself is terrible, and then his opponent has nothing to say, and that's how he wins. And so he's basically pulling an Eminem. They're saying hey, you cannot make fun of us more than we can make fun of ourselves.
But it's so desperate and sad. Stupidity. It is so look, John Cena, so many charming people being charming, to try and sell this load of horse shit, which the most quintessential examination evidence of the emptiness of corporate acquisition, M&A, just acquire things and make it bigger and make it more efficient. You just came out on the other side in the same place. No, you came out in a worse place. The amount of just cultural destruction that occurred in the past couple of years as a result of trying to make this work is a genuine tragedy. And so the idea that they launder that through a bunch of contracted James Gunn and everyone, they don't have a choice. They're gonna speak into the microphones, that's where they're getting their budgets. I don't hold that against any of them. But the idea that Zaslav is gonna try and launder just these unbelievably horrendous creative and business decisions that ruin lives, ruin shows, shove things away for tax reasons, all to truncated a season of House of the Dragon because I don't know, we just don't have the money to move. It's just, when you think about it in totality, the waste over the last couple of years, it is, and they just keep getting away with it, and they will.
Yeah.
And the fact that these business people who clearly had no idea what they were doing, in it for themselves, and they get to the other side of that and try to sell it with all the creative people who took the punches along the way, that sucks, man. John Cena to a gun to his head, being it's really funny how a bunch of people lost their jobs and didn't know what they were doing over the last couple of years because let's change the name back. It sucks. I laughed because a bunch of creative people found ways to spin this in the way that was clearly the mandate was to help us spin this and make us look like a punching bag for a couple of days, but it's really hard to brass tacks spin it as a positive. It was a giant waste of several years, a lot of lives, a lot of money to accomplish basically nothing.
Beautifully said, Patrick Klepek. You remind me of Aaron Paul in Breaking Bad, looking up at the sky and screaming, "He can't keep getting away with this!"
But then he did. And so will all of them.
But then he did. And it's pretty rough. I agree, by the way, 100% with everything Patrick just said. The value destruction here was pretty enormous. Any kind of rebranding effort is millions and millions of dollars. So many people need to work on it. So many people need to be told. So many assets need to be created. And then you just to then undo it. It's okay, what was the point of all that? There's a quote that I remember reading when Warner Brothers Discovery was first formed as a company. It was something along the lines of, this is like if your local McDonald's franchisee just inherited a Michelin star restaurant and thinks they know how to run the place, right? is essentially what happened, where you have the people who make shows like Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, inheriting or merging with the company that created shows like The Sopranos, and they're like, oh, now we're in charge, and we know how to run this place. And by the way, people are going to want to watch the Discovery shows just as much as the HBO stuff. So that's why we need a new super brand that's going to compete with Netflix called Max, right? Didn't work out like that. Turns out the number of people willing to watch, Property Brothers or whatever the hell is on. I don't even know.
Dr. Zit, wasn't that like the one that
like Dr. Pimple Popper? Like the number of people willing to watch that shit, it is a small incremental amount over the number of people willing to fork over $20 a month to watch HBO shows. And so they're like, okay, well, that whole branding was confusing. It subsumed one of the most hallowed brands in all of home entertainment for seemingly no reason, created tons of confusion. As Patrick said, lots of jobs lost, lots of shows disrupted, and for basically no reason, because now they're going back to what it was before.
And it's very funny, as I've noticed a couple of people over the course of this. I like, it's always funny pointing this out. We're like, okay, so I watch my shows on Max, right? But on Max, there are HBO shows, and then there are Max shows. And even though the creative that runs HBO is also running the Max shows, those are distinctive things. And then we arrive in a place, I don't know when we talked about this like 6 months ago, where it's like, well, now they're taking Max shows and labeling them as HBO shows and airing them on Sunday nights so you can expand the slate, because Casey Bloys is already overseeing this stuff anyway, even though technically there's a difference between these two, even though they operate under the same awards banner. And then now, no, they're all HBO shows and they're all under HBO Max, and there's no distinction without. I need Nathan Fielder to come in and figure this out for me.
Now, when HBO Max first launched, that was a little bit of a controversy as well. Like, there was a lot of people being like, there was already these services called HBO Go and HBO Now. Why do we now need an HBO Max? Because the idea was that HBO Max would like bring together some more programming under the HBO banner. So it
HBO
would
Now, that was if you had a cable subscription to HBO. And
no, that's HBO Go you're thinking of.
Okay, then what was the difference between HBO Go and Now?
HBO Now is you pay. You don't have cable. You pay like $50.
But those are separate services. I remember that. Correct. Really funny. But that's HBO was actually ahead of the curve on like embracing like, let's get a separate subscription service for totally. Like folks alongside Netflix's rise. But it makes it funny. Like, people have been using that, like HBO Go, HBO Now, as like a way of being funny about. Well, no, like actually, that was HBO being very progressive and smart and forward thinking about, like, not just getting locked into a Comcast moat, like, and trying to exist outside of it. It just looks funny.
I don't know if I would have made them two separate names though, Patrick. You know,
no,
like,
but it was just it was a weird time.
You're right. They were trying to give options for people to experience HBO, and that was very good, right? On one of my podcasts, the Filmcast, we do this joke where the strained branding of HBO was Max, the one to watch for HBO, right? Like,
what are you going to do now?
That's so stupid. Well, first of all, we're going to continue saying HBO Max, the one to watch for HBO, to remind people of the fact that was terrible. But what people may have easily forgotten was when HBO Max came out, they had to come up with some ridiculous taglines to get that out into the world, because it was like, hey, it's HBO, but with like additional stuff. That's what it was. And there was one ad that I really appreciated that you can still find online. It's a photo of Tony Soprano, Chandler from Friends, and the guy from Big Bang Theory, whose name I don't even know, even though that's one of the most popular shows. No,
you can see it in your brain. Everyone listening to this can see it in their mind's eye who you're talking about.
And the ad says, where Bada meets Bing meets Bang. That's the ad, and it says where
I'm
HBO
done with this podcast. I'm going away. I quit.
Where HBO meets so much more. HBO Max. It's like an introduction. It's like you can get Friends, you can get Sopranos, you can get Big Bang Theory. HBO Max. It's we're everything. So from now on, whenever we say the words HBO Max, I'm going to say it's where Bada meets Bing meets Bang every time, just to remind people of HBO Max's pedigree.
whip my headphones across the room every time it happens.
Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.